It seems that the saga regarding the equipping of domestic tanks with active protection systems is finally coming to its logical conclusion very soon. We will see the T-90M with a brand new system upgraded to meet modern realities. We will discuss this and much more in detail today. Despite the fact that active protection systems appear to be a purely positive development, I'd like to start the conversation with their drawbacks for the sake of completeness. The issue is that APS not only increases protection capabilities, but it also comes with its own stumbling blocks, three, to be precise. The first is, of course, cost and complexity. No matter how you look at it, creating an effective system capable of intercepting enemy projectiles mid-flight is not a simple task. The problem lies in the fact that detection is handled by compact radar stations, not just one, but several 4 or more. Along with these come your sensors, launchers, ammunition, and suddenly we have a tank that has become 1.5 times more expensive. On the one hand, protection is a priority, but on the other, the financial issue cannot be ignored. Choosing between 2 tanks with APS or 3 to 4 without it is a dilemma. During peacetime, the choice was obvious, which is why this topic was dragged out for quite some time, but now the situation has fundamentally changed, and invulnerable tanks are becoming a priority. The more survivable the vehicle, the less needs to be spent on repairs and replacements, not to mention the crew, which is a given. The second drawback of APS is its complexity in adapting to combat operations. If a tank operates solo or in a group at a distance from each other, there are no particular issues. However, if such a vehicle is covering infantry, serious problems arise for nearby soldiers. The only option here is to turn off the APS, but then what's the point of having it at all? It might seem like an exaggerated problem, but history already has incidents of unintended activations. Moreover, there is a third, much more serious issue, and that is enemy reconnaissance. As mentioned earlier, APS are built around compact radars, which are sources of radiation and easily detected by electronic reconnaissance. This means that vehicles with APS can be spotted long before they enter their zone of direct application. Currently, this problem can only be solved in one way, activating the system only when there is an immediate threat. However, with the advent of drones operating far beyond the front lines, the threat is constant, meaning the risk of being detected increases exponentially. In general, this is a well-known problem, and how to solve it is not entirely clear. And now, in light of all the above, we can move directly to the main topic of discussion. The fact is that back in August, at the Army Forum, a rather interesting contract was signed for a batch of T-90M, the highlight of which will be the aforementioned active protection system, specifically the Arena-M. Yes, it's the same Arena that has been undergoing testing on the T-73 since the late 2010s as shown in the photo above, but there are still some changes, which we'll touch on later. We won't dwell too long on its capabilities, suffice it to say that the T-90M will now be able to repel almost any enemy attack, including strikes from second and third generation ATGMs. Additionally, according to some reports, it will gain a significant advantage in hypothetical duels with the most advanced examples of Western tank building armed with armor-piercing rounds with uranium cores. Arena-M is even capable of neutralizing such a complex projectile. Now, let's move on to the interesting details. About 6 months ago, a curious topic was actively discussed online: the alleged development of a new approach in our country to counter the most dangerous enemy drones, primarily FPV drones. There were suggestions that some sort of compact SAM system was being created, or something similar. After all, systems don't always get the job done. We agree it sounds unlikely, but there's a nuance. The topic was confirmed. However, the mobile SAM system turned out to be a deeply reworked Arena-M, adapted to modern realities. What does this rework entail? The fact is that modern apps are being taught to detect and intercept high-speed targets, various supersonic ATGMs, and the like, while our task is fundamentally different: to adapt the system to low-speed FPV drones. Judging by the contract signed at the Army Forum, this task has been successfully completed. However, not all vehicles will receive the Arena just yet. Yes, the contract exists, and it's not just a single tank for testing and photo shoots, but an entire batch. The purpose of this batch is to determine how effective APS is and whether it will lead to unforeseen consequences. On the one hand, yes, an individual tank becomes an extremely well-protected combat unit, but the aforementioned 3 drawbacks don't go anywhere. On the other hand, over the past few years, Arena has surely been polished, with scenarios of use and other nuances being developed in parallel. But the fact remains this is the first ordered batch of tanks equipped with active protection systems. How they will perform in the future remains to be seen in practice. In conclusion, on the topic of APS, it's worth noting that despite all the nuances, a significant step forward has been made. Protection of the crew is a top priority, especially if it is effective against threats such as FPV format drones. But there's another extremely interesting direction: electrodynamic protection, which is essentially a hybrid of APS and ERA. Currently, this technology is only present in the T-14. However, whether it is capable of neutralizing a drone remains an open question.